Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel today. In today's video, I want to be talking to you about fuel saving and how we can improve everyone's fuel saving on Gran Turismo 7 to make everyone as competitive as possible, because currently at the moment fuel saving is vital. It's one of the most important skills that you can learn on Gran Turismo 7 because of the amount of fuel saving races that are currently going on during the start of Gran Turismo season, and these races will continue. They'll probably slow down in how much they happen, but they're going to be vital for you to learn the important skills of saving as much fuel as you can, because they'll be used in manufacturer series in future races, they'll be used in nations races in future series. And yeah, it's extremely important that you understand why we do things, what it does, and at certain points when to do things. So let's go into this straight away and start off with a few basic things. So short shifting, you're going to see straight away that I'm going to shift this Mercedes Group 2 car behind wind now at around 50%, because if you short shift, it's very simple that short shifting will save you a lot of fuel because you're not revving the car out to the maximum. Now, one thing I will say is sometimes it's better to get the car up to speed with mixture 1 short shifting than say revving it out in mixture 3, because for example, when you're revving out mixture 3, high revs use more fuel. So that is why you'll see a lot of people doing mixture 1 but short shifting. It also worked at Brands Hatch going back a few weeks in the RCZ. In general, I've used, I think it was mixture 2 or mixture 3, and short shifted a little bit through the fast corners. I didn't really go into mixture 6. Sometimes I did it in mixture 1 as well. But that is one technique you can use to really gain a lot of fuel. Now, another technique that you can use is obviously using the slipstream. Slipstream is vital to fuel saving. You'll see this very often in high ranked lobbies. What people will do is they will deliberately keep themselves in the slipstream like I'm doing to win now, keeping yourself at a perfect distance. You want to be really, the strong slipstream is around 7 times. If you can get right up close to someone, you can do massive fuel saving. But what you can see I'm doing, using mixture 1 now because we want to get ourselves back into that slipstream. So you're going to see still short shifting around 50% because we've got a little bit of slipstream. For your reference, slipstream is about 1.3 seconds in most cars. And you can see as soon as we're getting closer and the revs are building up, we're going to go to mixture 6 at the end of the straight. Now what this is doing again is vital, because at the end of the straights, when you're really revving that car out, you're not going to gain a massive amount of lap time by staying in mixture 1. Yes, you might gain 3 or 4 miles per hour, but in terms of what that gains you over a lap is not actually that significant, because if you go mixture 6, you still keep some acceleration. So again, you watch it here, we're going to go up to mixture 3, 4, 5, then 6 in the end of the straight, and then obviously for the acceleration zone back down to mixture 1. Now what that is doing is it's saving a lot of fuel at the peak of where the power is, where your car is using massive amount of power at the end of the rev range, and that is where all the fuel is being chucked into the car. So to go into mixture 6 when you're in a slipstream at the end of a straight is going to make a dramatic improvement on your fuel. Now this type of technique is very commonly used in group 4 fuel saving races. For example, you know, when you're in group 4, it's very easy to follow another car. Now in group 2, it is a little bit more difficult, for example, because you've got a lot more dirty air and you find it very hard to follow other cars. Now one thing you can do to help with that and help your fuel is doing what we're doing here. Is when we're through the corners, you're going to see I go into mixture 6. Now you can see at the end of the straight again, we're going to obviously short shift all the way up this straight, and then as we get into the really fast flowing corners where the downforce is lost, we go into mixture 6, because what that will actually do is it not only will help your fuel, it will help the car feel a little bit smoother. So again, look at this, mixture 6, chucking it in, we get good turning, trying to take a slightly different line to the car in front there just to avoid that turbulent air. But you can see this is a really good way of saving fuel as well, because we're going through these corners not much slower than what we'd do if we were using mixture 1 or 2, but we're in mixture 6 and we're saving a massive amount of fuel. So again, fast corners, you know, if you can carry the speed in, use that higher mixture, then as soon as you're getting back on the accelerator, back into mixture 1 and short shift. This is a very good method of saving fuel. So next up, we have another very vital skill that you all need to try and learn when it comes to fuel saving, and this is lift and coasting. So what we mean is, as you're coming into a braking zone, you're going to lift off the throttle early to let the car coast in and get on the brakes a little bit later, so you don't lose a massive amount of time. So what you see here is we're lifting off the throttle, letting the car coast in, and we don't have to be as late on the brakes because we're letting the car's engine braking do some of the braking for us, and this is saving us fuel because we're not on the accelerator, we're not on the brakes, the car's doing less work, and it just means better fuel efficiency. Now all these things as well, what we're doing here in terms of using higher mixture on fuel through fast corners and sometimes, you know, lift and coasting, it'll also help your tire wear, so it has another positive effect on how the car's going to behave. So again, you're going to see at the end of the straight, we'll try and see. So remember to do this when you can do it though, because sometimes if you're too far back and you lift and coast, and another thing to bear in mind is how fast you're going, because if you've got a slipstream and you lift and coast, you have to lift a lot sooner than what you'd think. So you don't want to be lifting as you would go into your braking zone, because that's going to mean you're going to overshoot the corner. So you see completely off the throttle a good 50 yards or more before my normal braking reference. So again, you can see it doesn't actually lose us a massive amount of time. We're actually staying fairly close to the car in front by doing this. Now he's probably doing that as well, and that's why it works even better if you've got the slipstream to do that as well. So again, keep your eye on the right hand side on the throttle in some of the braking zones. Now we're not going to do this every time because we're trying to judge this where to do it. You know, we do it when we feel it's possible. So again, on the right hand side, look at the throttle, again lifting off the throttle good bit early and just letting the car coast into the braking. Now it's not a massive amount, it's only like 50 meters or 50 yards or something like that before the normal braking reference, but that is 50 yards of rolling rather than accelerating. If you do that every corner and keep that up and keep getting used to it, find that braking point where you can brake as late as possible and carry as much momentum into the corners, you're really going to save a lot of fuel doing this. Again, this is another technique. Again, you can see it there, lifting and coasting before the corner, and this is a technique that will really help you out in groups like group 4 as well, because when you're really close to that slipstream, you just lift off before them into the corner, let the car coast in, make sure you get on the brakes at the right time. Now this is one key important skill you need to learn, is to make sure that you're not too late on the brakes when you do it, because it's very easy to run into another car when doing lift and coast, because you're lifting off early and you think, oh, I've got plenty of time to brake, and then you brake too late and you hit the car in front. It's a skill that if you can master it, you will really save a lot of fuel. Again, you can see it through here, we're completely off the throttle, so letting the car coast through the corner but not losing a massive amount of time. You can see we're in mixture 6 again through them fast corners, really helps the fuel. Back to mixture 1 for where we're getting into the acceleration zone, because this is where you want the power to kick in. Early upshift to mixture 2 as well, to gear 2 coming out the exit, so that we don't use gear 1. So again, little things like this, using higher gear like gear 2 rather than gear 1 on the exit of a corner when in mixture 1, getting good traction, still good acceleration, but not using gear 1. Higher gears through corners as well, this can all help with fuel saving. Going in 1 gear higher through a corner, so 4th rather than 3rd, stuff like this will help your fuel consumption. Again, through here you're going to see staying in 5th gear here, staying in 5th gear still, and then down to 4th gear. Now I was doing something wrong at the start of the week. I was actually going 4th gear very early into that corner and carrying, over revving it basically through the corner. Even though I was in mixture 6, I was letting the car rev out far too much, and this was burning fuel. It's better to hold a higher gear and really try and save that fuel as much as possible. So again, through here you can see I used mixture downshift 1 there just to rotate the car. Now that's purely because that was the way I was doing that corner, but again into 2nd gear and 3rd gear very early for the traction and to save fuel. These tips that I'm trying to give you here hopefully should work in the majority of cars as well. In group 1 especially for this, because this car is pretty similar to a group 1 in the way it drives, it should be pretty similar in group 1 for example, but in group 1 it's a lot harder to follow the car in front. So you can still do these tips that we're talking about now, but you're going to have to factor in that it's going to be a lot harder in the slipstream. But in group 3 and group 4, these fuel saving tips are really, if anything, a little bit easier than group 2, because it's easier to follow a car, it's easier to trail brake as well, to lift and coast into the corners and let the car roll in there. Especially in group 4, you can actually get quite good engine braking in group 4, letting the car roll into a corner and then on the throttle nice and early, and then short shifting. There are some cars to bear in mind that are better at short shifting, so one thing I advise you do is always go into the tuning menu on the game, go to the ECU and have a look at the power graph of your car, because some cars will have optimal shift points a little bit earlier, which means that they're better, or they'll have torque lines of where the power is, where it's quite evenly spread. Now this will all help in short shifting, so you can find out if a car is going to be pretty good at fuel saving by going into that. I will go into more in-depth detail on that when I do a separate video that is going to be coming onto the channel, so make sure you subscribe if you're obviously interested in anything like that. And obviously hit the like button on this video as well, because hopefully this can all help you out. Again, look how much slipstream we get in mixture 6. This is one thing that's really important that I found out. Now I think that Breeze was trying to save fuel as well, and he might have been getting a bit frustrated that we were just working behind him and just saving fuel, but this is a tactic that everyone uses. One thing I will say is when you're within half a second of the car in front, you can go extremely aggressive with the fuel mixture. So watch what we can do here now. We can almost go into mixture 6 and just keep the acceleration going, because we've got that really big pull from the car in front. You can see we're still accelerating in mixture 6, and we're getting up to 180 miles per hour, and we're lifting coasting into the corner still. So yeah, the closer you are to the car in front, the more potential you have of saving fuel. So you can see here, as we skip ahead to the end of lap 4 in this 5-lap race at Le Mans, we can see that our fuel is looking very good with the tactic we're using. We can see we've got 24% fuel left because we've been saving so much fuel. So we've got over a lap's worth of fuel, and this means we're going to be able to go a little bit more aggressive on this final lap. And unfortunately, Breeze in front of us did pick up a penalty. Now, Breeze was much faster than me at this combination, a lot faster, definitely faster, but we use a little bit of tactics, using the slipstream, fuel saving, and just playing it tactically to try and, you know, do as well as possible. Because if I was with no slipstream, I would be 2 to 3 seconds further back than what I am now, but I would still have good fuel because I've figured out this car, and, you know, my fuel saving got better as the week went on. And hopefully, if you follow some of these tips, we can help you all get better at fuel saving and improve your drive rating. Because if you can master the fuel saving on Gran Turismo, it was an important factor on GT Sport. It wasn't always a factor, and I think it will fade off in GT7 slightly. I don't think it'll be as commonly used as a, you know, a way of getting a good result, because I do think this is, at the moment, Gran Turismo, they're trying to teach people how to do things. It seems to be something they're doing. It wouldn't surprise me if some daily races go into quite high tyre wear soon to try and get people used to saving tyres, and that will be something we'll do for a future video. It's something I need to improve on. It's one of my weaknesses, really, is tyre saving, but I'm sure I can, you know, give some details of how you can improve your tyres to the majority of players. So again, you can see here, final lap, and everything's going really well, and this is why I'm doing the fuel saving. See, I'm still saving fuel even though I've got good fuel, because I want to save it for that final straight to really go max attack. We can also see that Breeze in front of us there had a penalty for, I think it was a track extension or a corner cut on one of the corners. So all I know all I have to do at this stage is basically follow in behind, save fuel, and then we can get the win here, hopefully, without actually putting too much effort in. And this is what I'm saying, if you lot can really learn how to do this fuel saving, you can see going up the mixture while in the slipstream, even if you're not in a slipstream, if you use mixture 1 until you get to a reasonable speed on the straight, and then go to mixture 3, 4, 5, 6 at the end of the straight, even if it's only for like 200 yards that you do this, you know, you might not be saving huge fuel, but every little bit of fuel that you save will help. And then you can use mixture 6 through the corners. Even if you're not in the slipstream, you can do these tactics, because, you know, as we go through there, we get a little bit of a block from wind. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if he was a bit unhappy with us saving fuel, or I'm not too sure what was going on there, but it was a bit dodgy. But yeah, as we come through here, we're going into the final sector. We're in mixture 6, and you can see our fuel is extremely good. We should be able to pretty much go mixture 1 on this next straight now, and he's got that penalty, so we should take the win in this race. So onto the straight, and again, you know, if we wanted to do this without actually having slipstream, you can see I can still shift it halfway, so around 50%, and then you can use higher mixtures through the corners. Now, if you've got a bit more fuel, you might want to go into like mixture 3 rather than mixture 6 through this really fast flowing section here. But you can see I'm still going mixture 6 just to make sure I've got the fuel, and staying in that high gear and 5th gear there, carrying the speed through the corner. And again, you can see we're carrying really good speed actually here in mixture 6. And now we're going into mixture 3 here because I want to get a slightly better exit. You can see mixture 3 will still work, and it will still give you very good turning, and it'll just give you a bit better exit speed. So we're into mixture 1 on the exit, and now we just got to get over the line. We've got 2% of fuel, so our fuel is pretty much perfect. And this was a really good race I did here. I actually did the fuel saving pretty much perfect with very few errors, and didn't pick up a penalty, and it all went to plan. So I thought this would be a really good example of fuel saving to give you lot. See, over the line there, we did it in a pretty fast finishing time as well, 18 minutes 10 seconds. So it was our fastest time of the week, helped by Breeze obviously having his slipstream. We don't want to take that away from him. Obviously, without him there, we would probably been on 18-13. I know that my pace wasn't brilliant here, but what we did do is we utilised the slipstream to save fuel. We utilised the fuel saving pretty much perfectly, using mixture 6 through the corners and mixture 6 at the end of the straights, and short shifting in mixture 1 on the acceleration zone. So if you do all these little tips, I think we can make everyone better at fuel saving and understanding fuel saving. Now remember, if you're using automatic gearbox, do remember that you might need to do your fuel saving more based on the fuel mixture rather than short shifting. And this is one reason why using manual gearbox is quite essential to improving on Gran Turismo. So yeah, if you are not using manual gearbox yet, maybe consider trying to learn it, because it'll be a big influence on your fuel saving. Automatic gearbox will very often rev the car out, even in cars that shouldn't be revving the car out. For example, the McLaren in Group 4, I think automatic gearbox will in general rev that car out where you should be shifting it around 60%. But anyway, I hope this video helped you out. Let me know in the comments description if it's gave you any important advice. Hopefully it's explained some things to you, and I'll be doing more of these type of videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.